Because right now, in the New York Yankees spring training camp in Tampa, Florida, a slow-motion disaster is unfolding behind closed doors. A $22 million outfielder is hitting 118 and can't find the barrel of the baseball. A brand-new pitcher, traded away 4 prospects, is nursing an injury history that has the entire fan base absolutely terrified. And a third baseman turned makeshift shortstop is being asked to plug holes all over an infield that looks like Swiss cheese. This is the New York Yankees, the most storied franchise in the history of American sports. 27 world championships, Ruth, Gehrig, DiMaggio, Mantle, Jeter, and right now they are watching a starting center fielder who cost them $22 million slap grounders at a 1.18 batting average, while a 23-year-old phenom named Jasson Dominguez is absolutely destroying pitching and has literally nowhere to play. The drama is real. The questions are mounting. And if you think this is just a slow spring, that this is nothing, that it'll all work itself out, then you haven't been paying attention. And after this video, you will. This is the full story of the New York Yankees' most dangerous internal conflict heading into 2026. And trust me, it is far messier, far more explosive, and far more consequential than the headlines are telling you. Stay right here, because this story changes everything. To understand the depth of what is happening inside the New York Yankees organization right now, you have to start where all great Yankees stories start, with the weight of expectation. This is not just any baseball team. This is not a rebuilding franchise piecing things together. This is the New York Yankees, coming off a World Series appearance in 2024, eliminated in the 2025 American League Division Series by the Toronto Blue Jays, and burning, absolutely burning with the desire to bring a championship back to the Bronx for the first time since 2009. That is 17 years without a title for the most decorated franchise in baseball history. The pressure is crushing, the urgency is real, and the decisions made in this 2026 offseason, good and bad, will echo for years. So let us start with the man at the center of the first storm brewing in Tampa, Trent Grisham. When the Yankees extended a qualifying offer to Grisham in November, general manager Brian Cashman described it as a genuine 50-50 call. He wouldn't have been surprised if the outfielder opted to accept or decline, ESPN. Think about that for a second. The general manager of the New York Yankees, a man who has been building rosters for over 2 decades, looked at one of his own outfielders and said he genuinely had no idea what the player was going to do. That is not the language of a franchise locked in on a cornerstone. That is the language of an organization making a calculated bet and hoping for the best. But Grisham accepted the 1-year, $22.025 million deal. And once the free agent market played out the way it did, with center fielders flying off the board at astronomical prices, Cashman said the $22 million deal was suddenly looking like a bargain. "We're really happy that he chose to stay with us," Cashman said. "Hopefully he can replicate what he did last year." ESPN. Replicate what he did last year. Those words right there. That is the entire thesis of the Trent Grisham question in one sentence. Because what Grisham did last year was extraordinary. So extraordinary that a very real debate is raging among analysts and statisticians about whether it was genuine, sustainable breakout or the most dangerous thing in all of baseball, a statistical outlier. Grisham set career highs with 34 home runs, 82 walks, and an .811 OPS. And the Yankees, according to deep analytical observers, felt that his upside had been real all along. "We had tried to acquire him for a number of years out of San Diego," Cashman had said previously. "We felt that there was some upside in his offensive profile."
And in 2025, that upside finally arrived, fully formed, in the most spectacular way. 34 home runs from a player who had never hit more than 19 in any previous season, from a player who was originally acquired in the Juan Soto trade and was supposed to rest starters 3 days a week, not carry the lineup.
But Aaron Boone ran the A lineup every single day because nobody got hurt. And Grisham, performing at a level nobody had predicted, became a full-time starter and one of the most productive outfielders in the American League. It was a Cinderella story, a career resurrection, a feel-good moment in a Yankees season that desperately needed one. And now? Now comes the question every analytics department in baseball has to ask after a career year. Was it real or was it magic? One deep analytical breakdown of Grisham's 2025 season pointed out that some of his production was partially fueled by luck, specifically in how often he was able to get his best swing off. Some seasons are just outliers. A hitter or pitcher can get incredibly lucky or unlucky for a season, the analysis noted. However, it also concluded that his mechanical improvements were legitimate. His swing path and barrel accuracy are genuinely better, and he deserves credit for that. So the truth, as it so often is in baseball, lives somewhere in the middle. The 34 home runs were probably an outlier, but the improved hitter underneath the numbers is real. The question is whether the improved hitter translates to 20-25 home runs and a .330 OBP, or whether the regression is so severe that you end up with the pre-2025 version of Trent Grisham, a .220 hitter with pop who cannot stay healthy. And right now, in spring training, the signs are not encouraging. Grisham is slashing 143, 226, 117 with no home runs, 3 RBI, 1 stolen base, and a 3-to-8 walk-to-strikeout ratio through 11 Grapefruit League games. That is an offensive line that would get most players sent to the minor leagues immediately. For context, 143 average, no power, way more strikeouts than walks, and a strikeout rate suggesting that pitchers have already figured out something about his swing that he has not yet adjusted to. This is the slow start that has the entire Yankees fan base watching nervously. Not panicking yet. Spring training is spring training, and veterans are allowed some room to breathe, but watching very, very carefully. Yankees analyst Steven Perello was direct in his assessment. It's not time to panic, but this is worth monitoring. If it were just a spring cold spell, that would be one thing, but there are a couple of youngsters who could be turning up the pressure on the veteran. And that is the other half of this story, because while Trent Grisham is struggling to find the baseball, a 23-year-old outfielder named Jasson Dominguez is absolutely destroying spring training pitching and has nowhere to play. Dominguez has exploded with a .371, .395, .686 slash line in exhibition play, along with 3 home runs and 3 stolen bases. .371, .686 slugging, home runs, stolen bases, speed, power, plate discipline, all of it on full display, right in front of a roster that has no room for him because Cody Bellinger is locked in at left field on a 5-year, $162.5 million deal. Aaron Judge is locked in at right, and Trent Grisham, slashing 143, is supposedly locked in at center, backed by that $22 million qualifying offer that the Yankees cannot simply ignore because of optics and financial reality. As one analyst bluntly noted, an organization would rather not pay a player $22 million to ride the bench. If Grisham struggles, manager Aaron Boone and the Yankees are bound to let him work through things to justify the contract. That is the ugly reality of the situation. The Yankees are financially handcuffed. They paid Grisham $22 million. They cannot bench him on March 18th because he's having a bad spring. The financial logic of the contract essentially forces them to give him every opportunity to work through his issues, even if a younger, cheaper, hotter option is standing right next to him, demanding attention. But Perello pushed back on that logic. Remember, last season the intention wasn't to have Grisham as the everyday center fielder, but his hot hitting changed everything, he wrote. If the ultimate goal is to win a World Series, then the best players need to be on the opening day roster. Would the Yankees actually have the gall to do something like this? Probably not. Are we at the point where this should be a consideration? Not yet, but the signs are there. Pro Football Network. The signs are there. That is not nothing. That is an experienced baseball analyst watching spring training games in Tampa, looking at a $22 million outfielder struggle and a young star emerge, and saying out loud, in writing on a major Yankees platform, that the conversation about a roster change needs to at least be happening. It does not need to happen publicly. It probably is not happening publicly. But behind those closed doors in the Yankees front office, in Aaron Boone's office, in Brian Cashman's war room, someone is having this conversation. Someone is asking the question. And here is the complicating factor, the one that makes this drama even messier, even more difficult to resolve. Both Jasson Dominguez and Spencer Jones, the two young outfielders pushing for playing time, also have paths to the roster if they push hard enough. The Yankees must weigh whether they are best served to begin the season as bench pieces, logging development time in the minors, or as pieces in potential trade discussions. ESPN. Trade discussions, there it is. Because in today's MLB, young outfielders with upside and club control are the most valuable trade chips on the market. If Grisham turns it around and plays well, you have a logjam in the outfield. If Grisham struggles and you need to make a move, Dominguez and Jones become assets in a deadline deal. The chess game happening inside Yankee Stadium right now is extraordinarily complex, and it is all circling back to one man's batting average in March. But the Grisham situation is just Act 1 of this drama, because there is another storm cloud gathering over the Bronx, and it involves a left-handed pitcher who cost the Yankees 4 prospects and carries a history that makes Yankees fans lose sleep. Ryan Weathers. The Marlins traded Weathers to the Yankees for 4 prospects, outfielders Dylan Lewis and Brendan Jones, and infielders Dylan Yasso and Juan Mateus. Weathers is a 26-year-old lefty and the son of longtime big leaguer David Weathers, who was himself famously traded from the Florida Marlins to the Yankees at the 1996 deadline. University of Colorado Athletics baseball history being what it is, that biographical detail is charming. The real-world concern is far less charming. As MLB trade rumors bluntly noted, Weathers was once a notable prospect and has shown some flashes of potential in the majors, but not over a long sample size. ESPN. That is the most important phrase in the entire Weathers story, not over a long sample size. In baseball, a long sample size is everything. Anyone can look good over 2 months. Anyone can have a hot stretch, a promising handful of starts, a dazzling strikeout sequence that makes scouts salivate. But sustaining it over a full 162-game season, through lineup adjustments, through fatigue, through the grinding mechanical wear that pitching a baseball at 95 miles per hour puts on a human arm, that is the test, and Weathers has never passed it. Multiple commentators pointed out the risk openly at the time of the trade. Career 4.93 ERA, can't stay healthy, never started more than 18 games in his whole career, one wrote in a widely shared reaction. He isn't Edward Cabrera, he isn't Sandy Alcantara. Now, ERA alone is not the whole story. Modern baseball evaluators, the people actually running teams, do not make decisions based primarily on ERA, which is a statistic heavily influenced by context, defense, and luck. They look at spin rates, exit velocity, pitch movement, expected stats. And whatever those advanced metrics showed the Yankees about Ryan Weathers was compelling enough to give up 4 prospects, including names with legitimate upside, to acquire him. But the injury history is the part that cannot be explained away with advanced metrics. A pitcher who has never stayed healthy is a pitcher who, by definition, cannot be relied upon. And the Yankees, heading into 2026, already dealing with a rotation situation so fragile it would make a glassblower nervous, absolutely cannot afford another key arm going down.
consider the full picture of what the Yankees are already dealing with on the pitching side. Garrett Cole, their ace, the cornerstone of the entire rotation, is coming back from Tommy John surgery and will not be ready by opening day. Carlos Rodon had surgery to remove loose bodies from his elbow and will also begin the season on the injured list. Clark Schmidt had UCL surgery in July of last year and is also starting on the shelf. ESPN. 3 of their most important pitchers, their ace, their number 2, and a key member of the rotation, all on the injured list before the first pitch of the season is even thrown. And into this chaos, the Yankees are inserting Ryan Weathers, a man with a career 4.93 ERA and a medical file that gives their training staff anxiety, as a key member of what remains of their rotation. As of this week, Weathers is slotted in to follow Max Fried, the opening day starter, in some order alongside Cam Schlittler, Luis Gil, and Will Warren. All 4 of these pitchers have minor league options remaining, which means any one of them can be sent down at any time. And with Cole, Rodon, and Schmidt all expected to return at various points during the season, the math gets uncomfortable fast. NCAA. The Yankees will need to make difficult choices. By early May, if the health news is good and veterans start coming back, 2 of those 4 pitchers will likely be optioned to AAA. And the question is, when Weathers is pitching well, does he fight for his spot? And when Weathers is not pitching well, which history says is a legitimate possibility, does the Yankees' brain trust make the call early and send him down before the damage piles up? This is not hypothetical drama. This is a real tension that will play out in real time, in front of the most demanding fan base in baseball, in the middle of a pennant race in the American League East. Every bad start Weathers makes will be analyzed. Every missed outing due to an arm fatigues will set off alarm bells. Every trip to the trainer's room will be reported, dissected, and debated on talk radio from 6 a.m. to midnight. That's the deal when you pitch for the New York Yankees, and Ryan Weathers has never pitched for the New York Yankees. He has never pitched in a fishbowl this intense, under scrutiny this relentless. Whether he can handle it, on top of whether he can stay healthy, is the real drama that is only just beginning to escalate. And then there's Act 3 of this spring training saga, the name you might not have expected in a headline, Ryan McMahon.
McMahon was acquired at last year's trade deadline as the Yankees sought to finally solve their perpetual hot corner problem. He represents their latest attempt to solidify third base, which has been unsettled for several years. McMahon came with real credentials, a solid defensive third baseman, a switch hitter with pop, a player who fit the Yankees' model of acquiring multiple years of club control at the deadline. On paper, the deal made sense, and McMahon, in his early time in pinstripes, showed flashes of exactly what the Yankees had hoped for. But now McMahon is being asked to do something that most third basemen in baseball history are never asked to do. He is being prepared, at least as a contingency option, to play shortstop. The reason is Anthony Volpe, the Yankees' young shortstop, who is beginning the 2026 season on the injured list after undergoing postseason labrum surgery. That draws utility man Jose Caballero into the lineup at shortstop and leaves the Yankees without a clear backup option at the position. So the chain of dominoes falls like this. Volpe did not play shortstop. Caballero starts there, but Caballero is not a long-term solution and is certainly not immune to injury himself. And if something happens to Caballero, the Yankees need somebody who can fill in. Ahmed Rosario has shortstop experience, but has mostly been pushed off the position defensively, and so the eyes turn to Ryan McMahon. Manager Aaron Boone confirmed this week that he would be comfortable with McMahon playing shortstop in a regular season game. The Yankees are giving him work at the position this spring to evaluate whether they feel comfortable using him as a potential backup option. And there it is, the drama that escalates, because Ryan McMahon, by every available metric, is a third baseman, a good one, a reliable one, a man whose calling card in baseball is his glove work at the hot corner. Moving him to shortstop is not a natural transition. It is a square peg in a round hole situation born out of pure organizational necessity. And the question being asked in every corner of Yankees media right now is a sharp one. Does asking McMahon to moonlight as a shortstop compromise his ability to be the anchor at third base that the Yankees actually need him to be? The Yankees fans have not been shy about their skepticism. Ryan McMahon is terrible. I think he will be released or traded after the All-Star break, one fan comment read. A sentiment that, while harsh, reflects real anxiety about whether McMahon can deliver the offensive production to go along with his defensive versatility. Because here is the truth about Ryan McMahon. His bat has always been the question mark. His defense, legitimate. His range, his arm, his footwork at third base, these are genuine MLB caliber tools. But in a Yankees lineup that needs production from every spot, a glove-first player who struggles offensively is only valuable as long as his defense is exceptional. And if you start moving him around the diamond, playing him at shortstop, asking him to fill utility roles that fragment his focus and routine, the very defensive reliability that makes him valuable could deteriorate. This is the tightrope Aaron Boone is walking, and he is walking it right now, with opening day less than 2 weeks away. Step back and look at the full picture, and it becomes almost overwhelming. The Yankees are a team built to win right now. The goal, as it is every year in the Bronx, is to return to the World Series and win their first title since 2009. That pressure drives everything, every roster decision, every spring training evaluation, every conversation between Boone and Cashman at the end of a long day in Tampa. Cashman pushed back on the running it back narrative this offseason, arguing that the roster is meaningfully different from 2025. It's not the same roster. I disagree it's the same team running it back. Not afraid to run with the quality and talented roster of players that we do have. I've been openly willing to challenge anybody that says we don't have a championship caliber roster and team. And to his credit, Cashman made moves. He secured Cody Bellinger on a 5-year deal worth $162.5 million, a signing that adds genuine middle-of-the-order production and outfield flexibility. He brought back Grisham, he acquired McMahon and other deadline pieces with multi-year control, and he traded for Weathers to shore up a rotation that is bleeding starters to injury before the season even starts. On paper, the starting rotation health situation alone is borderline alarming. Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, and Clark Schmidt will all open the season on the injured list. Max Fried gets the ball on opening day, followed in some order by Cam Schlittler, Weathers, Luis Gil, and Will Warren. That is a rotation held together with optimism and advanced metrics on a pitcher with a career 4.93 ERA in the American League East against the Baltimore Orioles, the Toronto Blue Jays, the Boston Red Sox, and the Tampa Bay Rays. The schedule shows no mercy in that division, and a rotation without Cole and Rodon in April is a rotation walking a very, very thin line. The bullpen situation is also more unsettled than it might appear on paper. David Bednar is locked in as the closer, and he is a genuine, reliable MLB caliber closer. Camilo Doval gives them a second high-leverage option, but it is beyond those two arms where the questions mount. Devin Williams and Luke Weaver, both of whom were major parts of the 2025 bullpen, left as free agents and signed with the Mets. They're crosstown rivals, because that is the New York City narrative that nobody can escape. While the Yankees are patching holes and battling internal drama, the Mets are quietly fortifying themselves to compete for the same city, the same playoff slots, the same championship conversation. Every move the Yankees fail to make is a move the Mets potentially capitalize on. Every internal drama that costs the Yankees games is a game that could end up in the Mets win column. And through it all, one constant remains: Aaron Judge, 3-time American League MVP in 4 years, the undisputed heartbeat of this franchise, the man who makes every Yankees lineup legitimate no matter who is struggling around him, continues to be the anchor that holds this entire team together. When Judge is healthy and producing, this Yankees lineup is genuinely scary. When his teammates are contributing around him, this team can beat anyone in baseball. The question every spring is always the same: can the supporting cast hold their end of the bargain?
And right now, with Grisham struggling, Weathers carrying injury risk, and McMahon being asked to play out of position before the season even starts, the supporting cast is under the microscope harder than it has been in years. This is a team at a crossroads, not a rebuilding team, not a team without talent, but a team where the margin for error is razor thin, where every internal drama carries genuine consequences, and where the decisions made in the next 10 days before opening day will set the tone for an entire season. Will Grisham turn it around and remind the world why Cashman called his contract a bargain? Will Ryan Weathers stay healthy long enough to give the Yankees meaningful innings while Cole and Rodon recover? Will McMahon prove he can handle the defensive flexibility without sacrificing the reliability at third base? Will Jasson Dominguez find a way onto the field through roster construction, through trade, through Grisham faltering before his window of peak performance closes? These are not casual questions. These are the questions that will determine whether the New York Yankees have a season to remember or a season to forget, whether Cashman's confidence is justified or whether the running-it-back criticism lands like a punch to the gut by September. The drama is real, the stakes are enormous, the clock is ticking, and Yankee fans everywhere are watching spring training games with one eye on the batting average and one eye on the injury reports, crossing their fingers and holding their breath. Because in the Bronx, there is no second place, there is no moral victory, there is only the World Series and everything that falls short of it. This is the New York Yankees, spring 2026. And the story is just getting started.